All right, we are here in the building. My name is Umoya.
And I am Kim with EMEN.
All right, so we are going to go over the California propositions today, and we are going to get started. Before we get started, as always, please like, share, and subscribe to this wonderful channel that's bringing you news and reparations and information straight to you. All right, so you want
Oh,
to say something,
no,
Kim?
I was just going to say smash the bell.
Smash that bell. Smash that bell. All right, so we're going to be going over 10 propositions today, as you can see on your screen. For those that didn't know, the propositions are actually created by the Secretary of State. In this case, the Secretary of State is Dr. Shirley Weber, and she assigns the numbers, which will be on your November ballot. And also looks like she collects and invites ballot arguments as well. So you can see that on your screen, or you should be able to see that on your screen if you are watching. So let's actually go on to Proposition 2. Let you take that one, Kim.
All right. Proposition 2, Prop 2, authorizes bonds for public school and community college facilities legislative statute. Summary. Authorizes $10 billion in general obligation bond for repair, upgrade, and construction of facilities at K through 12 public schools, including charter schools, community colleges, and career technical education programs, including for improvement of health and safety conditions and classroom upgrades. Requires and audits fiscal impact, increased state costs of about $500 million annually for 35 years to repay the bond. Supporters: California Teachers Association, California School Nurses Organization, Community College League of California. Opponents: Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. What your vote means: yes. A yes vote on this measure means that the state could borrow $10 billion to build new or renovate existing public school and community college facilities. No. A no vote on this measure means the state could not borrow $10 billion to build new or renovate existing public school and community college facilities. Pretty straightforward there. Arguments: pro. Many schools and community colleges are outdated and need basic health and safety repairs and upgrades to prepare students for college and careers and to retain and attract quality teachers. Prop 2 meets those needs and requires strict taxpayer accountability so funds are spent as promised with local control. Con. Proposition 2 will increase our bond obligations by $10 billion, which will cost taxpayers an estimated $18 billion when repaid with interest. A bond works like a government credit card. Paying off that credit card requires the government to spend more of your tax dollars. And then there's a call to vote no, but of course, we're just giving you the information so you can vote as needed to serve your best interests. The law proposed by California Bill 247 of the 2023-2024 regular session, Chapter 81 Statutes of 2024, Assembly Floor Analysis. It implements a sliding scale for state grant amounts, ensuring lower wealth districts receive a higher proportion of the state funding. That is Prop 2 on your November 5th ballot.
All right, so let's go on to Proposition 3, Constitutional Right to Marriage, Legislative Constitutional Amendment. Summary: amends California Constitution and recognizes fundamental right to marry regardless of sex or race. Removes language in California Constitution stating that marriage is only between a man and a woman. Fiscal impact: no change in revenues or costs for state and local governments. Supporters: Sierra Pacific Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, Dolores Huerta Foundation, Equity California opponents, Jonathan Keller, California Family Council, believe that's Rev, maybe that stands for Reverend, Tanner D. Bela or Bella or Bella. What your votes means, yes, a yes vote on this measure means language in the California Constitution would be updated to match who currently can marry. There would be no change in who can marry. A no vote on this measure means language in the California Constitution would not be changed. There would be no change in who can marry. Arguments. Pro. Proposition 3 protects Californians' freedom to marry, regardless of the race or gender. Proposition 3 removes discriminatory language from the California Constitution stating marriage is only between a man and a woman. Proposition 3 reinforces Californians' commitment to civil rights and protects personal freedom. Con. Proposition 3 removes all rules for marriage, opening the door to child marriages, incest, and polygamy. It changes California's constitution even though same-sex marriages is already legal by making moms and dads optional. It puts children at risk. This careless measure harms families and society. This resolution is a Chapter 125 Statutes 2023. This was a previous bill for ACA 8. ACA, I'm sorry, not 8, ACA 5, known as marriage equality. Proposition 4 authorizes bonds for safe drinking water, wildfire prevention, and protecting communities and natural lands from climate risks. Legislative statute. Summary. Authorizes $10 billion in general obligation bonds for water, wildfire prevention, and protections of communities and lands. Requires annual audits, fiscal impact, increased state costs of about $400 million annually for 40 years to repay the bond. Supporters: Clean Water Action, CAL FIRE firefighters, National Wildlife Federation, the Nature Conservancy. Opponents: Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. What your vote means: yes. A yes vote on this measure means the state would borrow $10 billion to fund various activities aimed at conserving natural resources as well as responding to the causes and effects of climate change. A no vote on this measure means the state could not borrow $10 billion to fund various activities aimed at conserving natural resources as well as responding to the causes and effects of climate change. Arguments. Pro. Yes on 4 for safe drinking water, wildfire prevention, clean air, and protection of natural resources. California firefighters, conservation groups, clean water advocates urge yes, accountable, fiscally responsible with independent audits, strict transparency, proactive approach saves money and prevents the worst impacts of devastating wildfires, smoke, droughts, and pollution. Con. Bonds are the most expensive way to fund government spending. Water and wildfire mitigations are necessities, not luxuries. They should be budgeted for, not bonded. Mismanagement led to this crisis. The $10 billion bond will cost taxpayers almost $2 to repay for every dollar spent. This law, proposed by Senate Bill 867 of the 2023-2024 regular session, Chapter 83 Statutes of 2024, is submitted to the people in accordance with the provisions of Article XVI, Article 16 of the California Constitution.
All right. Let's see. We have Proposition 5. Prop 5 allows local bonds for affordable housing and public infrastructure with 55% voter approval. Legislative Constitutional Amendment. Summary. Allows approval of local infrastructure and housing bonds for low and middle income Californians with 55% vote. Accountability requirements. Fiscal impact. increase local borrowing to fund affordable housing, supportive housing, and public infrastructure. The amount would depend on decisions by local governments and voters. Borrowing would be repaid with higher property taxes. Supporters: California Professional Firefighters League of Women Voters of California, Habitat for Humanity California. Opponents: California Taxpayers Association, California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Women Veterans Alliance. What your vote means. Yes. A yes vote on this measure means certain local bonds and related property taxes could be approved with a 55% vote of the local electorate, rather than the current 2/3 approval requirement. These bonds would have to fund affordable housing, supportive housing, or public infrastructure. No. A no vote on this measure means certain local bonds and related property taxes would continue to need approval by 2/3 of the vote of the local electorate. Arguments. Pro. Prop 5 shifts local spending priorities away from state government, giving local voters and taxpayers the choice and tools to address the challenges facing their communities, whether it's housing, affordable, safe streets, more fire stations, or other community-driven projects. Prop 5 empowers local voters to solve local problems. Con. Prop 5 changes the Constitution to make it easier to create bond debt, leading to higher property taxes. Prop 5 shifts the financial burden from the state to local communities, increasing costs for homeowners, renters, and consumers. Politicians wrote loopholes in Prop 5 so infrastructure can mean just about anything. This amendment, proposed by Assembly Constitutional Amendment ACA 1 of the 2023-2024 regular session, Resolution Chapter 173, Statutes of 2023, and Assembly Constitutional Amendment 10 of the 2023-2024 regular session, Resolution Chapter 134, Statutes of 2024, expressly amends the California Constitution by amending sections thereof.
All right, moving on to Proposition 6. Eliminates constitutional provision allowing involuntary servitude for incarcerated persons. Legislative Constitutional Amendment. Summary. Amends the California Constitution to remove current provision that allows jails and prisons to impose involuntary servitude to punish crime, i.e. forcing incarcerated persons to work. Fiscal impact. Potential increase or decrease in state and local costs, depending on how work for people in state prison and county jail changes. Any effect likely would not exceed the tens of millions of dollars annually. Supporters, Assembly Member Lori Wilson. Opponents, none submitted. What your votes mean? What your vote means? A yes vote on this measure means involuntary servitude would not be allowed as punishment for crime. State prisons would not be allowed to discipline people in prison who refuse to work. A no vote on this measure means involuntary servitude would continue to be allowed as punishment for crime. Proposition 6 ends slavery in California and upholds human rights and dignity for everyone. It replaces carceral involuntary servitude with voluntary work programs, has bipartisan support, and aligns with national efforts to reform the 13th Amendment. It would prioritize rehabilitation, lower recidivism, and improve public safety, resulting in taxpayer savings. No argument against Proposition 6 was submitted. This amendment was proposed by ACA 8 of the 2023-2024 regular session, Resolution Chapter 133, Statutes of 2024 expressly. Just to note, this was introduced as ACA 3 during the California legislative sessions 2021 through 2022, introduced by Assembly Member Comlogger at the time, and it was originally authored by Samuel N. Brown.
In slavery now.
Proposition 7.
Well, Prop 32, actually, and that was Prop 36. All right, that was Prop 6, and this is Prop 32. All right, let's see what Prop 32 is talking about. Raises minimum wage initiative statute. Raises summary for Prop 32. Raises minimum wage as follows for employers with 26 or more employees to 17 immediately, 18 on January 1st, 2025. For employers with 25 or fewer employees to 17 on January 1st, 2025, 18 on January 1st, 2025. Fiscal impact. State and local government costs could increase or decrease by up to hundreds of millions of dollars annually. State and local revenues likely would decrease by no more than a few $100 million annually. Supporters, none submitted. Opponents, California Chamber of Commerce, California Restaurant Association, California Grocers Association. What your vote means? Yes. A yes vote on this measure means the state minimum wage would be $18 per hour in 2026. After that, it would go up each year based on how fast prices are going up. No. A no vote on this measure means the state minimum wage likely would be around $17 per hour in 2026. After that, it would go up each year based on how fast prices are going up. Arguments. Pro. Yes, on Proposition 32 raises the minimum wage to $18 so more service, essential, and other workers and single moms can afford the state's cost of living. Corporate profit margin increased to 100% since 2000 because corporations spiked the prices of goods. Yes. Cons. Prop 32 was written by a multimillionaire alone, and he wrote a horribly flawed measure. Prop 32 increases the cost of living, eliminates jobs, makes our state and local government budget deficits worse, and makes California's complex minimum wage laws even harder for businesses and workers to understand. This initiative measure is submitted to the people in accordance with the provisions of Section 8 of Article 2 of the California Constitution, the Living Wage Act of 2022.
Proposition 33 expands local government's authority to enact rent control or residential property initiative statute. Summary. Repeals Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act of 1995, which currently prohibits local ordinances limiting initial residential rental rates for new tenants or rent increases for existing tenants in certain residential properties. Fiscal impact. Reduction in local property tax revenues of at least tens of millions of dollars annually due to likely expansion of rent control in some communities. Supporters. California Nurses Association, California Alliance for Retired Americans, Mental Health Advocacy Coalition for Economic Survival, Tenants Together. Opponents. California Council for Affordable Housing, Women Veterans Alliance, and California Chamber of Commerce. What your vote means. Yes vote on this measure means state law would not limit the kinds of rent control laws cities and counties could have. A no vote on this measure means state law would continue to limit the kinds of rent control laws cities and counties could have. Arguments pro: the rent is too dang high. 1 million people have left California. Rent control in America has worked to keep people in their homes since 1919. California's 17 million renters need relief. Homeowners and taxpayers benefit from stable communities. The California dream is dying. You can help save it. Con: don't be fooled by the latest corporate landlord anti-housing scheme. California voters have rejected this radical proposal twice before because it would freeze the construction of new housing and could effectively reverse dozens of new state housing laws. This initiative measure is submitted to the people in accordance with the provisions of Section 8 of Article 2 of the California Constitution. This act shall be known and may be cited as the Justice for Renters Act.
Next up, we have Prop 34. Proposition 34 restricts spending of prescription drug revenues by certain healthcare providers initiative statute. Summary: requires certain providers to spend 98% of revenues from federal discount prescription drug program on direct patient care, authorizes statewide negotiation of MEDI-CAL drug prices. Fiscal impact: increased state costs likely in the millions of dollars annually to enforce new rules on certain healthcare entities. Affected entities would pay fees to cover these costs. Supporters: the ALS Association, California Chronic Care Coalition, Latino Heritage Los Angeles. Opponents: National Org for Women, Consumer Watchdog, Coalition for Economic Survival, and AIDS Healthcare Foundation, Dolores Beretta. What your vote means? Yes. A yes vote on this measure means certain healthcare entities would have to follow new rules about how they spend revenue they earn from a federal drug discount program. Breaking these rules would result in penalties such as not being able to operate as a healthcare entity, generally for a 10-year period. And no, a no vote on this measure means these new rules would not go into effect. Arguments. Pro: Proposition 34 will protect patients and ensure public health care dollars actually go to patients who need it. Prop 34 will close a loophole that allows corporations to spend the money on things like buying stadium naming rights and multi-million-dollar CEO salaries. Protect patents now. Protect patients now. Con: Prop 34, the Revenge Initiative, California Apartment Association, representing billionaire corporate landlords, doesn't care about patients. The sole purpose of silencing AIDS Healthcare Foundation, the sponsor of the Rent Control Initiative 34, weaponizes the ballot, is a threat to democracy, and opens the door to attacks on any nonprofit. This initiative measure is submitted to the people in accordance with the provisions of Section 8 of Article 2 of the California Constitution. Added to Chapter 7 of Part 3 of Division 9 of the Welfare and Institutions Code to read Article 3.3, Protect Patients Now, Act of 2024.
Proposition 35 provides permanent funding for MEDI-CAL Health Care Services Initiative Statute. Summary: makes permanent the existing tax on managed healthcare insurance plans, which, if approved by the federal government, provides revenues to pay for MEDI-CAL healthcare services. Fiscal impact: Short-term state costs between roughly $1 billion and $2 billion annually to increase funding for certain health programs. Total funding increased between roughly $2 billion and $5 billion annually. Unknown long-term fiscal effects. Supporters: Planned Parenthood affiliates of California, American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, American Academy of Pediatrics. There are no opponents. What your vote means: a yes vote on this measure means an existing state tax on health plans that provides funding for certain health programs would become permanent. New rules would direct how the state must use the revenue. A no vote on this measure means an existing state tax on health plans would end in 2027 unless the legislature continues it. The new rules would not become law. Arguments for: yes on 35 addresses our urgent healthcare crisis by securing dedicated funding without raising taxes to protect access to primary and specialty care, community clinics, hospitals, ERs, family planning, and mental health providers. Prop 35 prevents the state from redirecting funds for non-healthcare purposes. Con: no argument against Proposition 35 was submitted.
All right. Proposition 36. Prop 36 allows felony charges and increases sentences for certain drug and theft crimes. Initiative statute summary. Allows felony charges for possessing certain drugs and for thefts under $950. If defendant has 2 prior drug or theft convictions. Fiscal impact. State criminal justice costs likely ranging from several tens of millions of dollars to the low hundreds of millions of dollars annually. Local criminal justice costs likely in the tens of millions of dollars annually. Supporters: Crime Victims United of California, California District Attorneys Association, Family Business Association of California. Opponents: Diana Beckton, District Attorney, Contra Costa County, Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice. What your vote means: yes. A yes vote on this measure means people convicted of certain drug and theft crimes could receive increased punishments, such as longer prison sentences. In certain cases, people who possess illegal drugs will be required to complete treatment or serve up to 3 years in prison. No. A no vote on this measure means punishment for drug and theft crimes would remain the same. Arguments. Proposition 36 makes California communities safer by addressing rampant theft and drug trafficking. It toughens penalties for fentanyl and drug traffickers and smash and grabs while holding repeat offenders accountable. It targets serial thieves and encourages treatment for those addicted to drugs, using a balanced approach to fix loopholes in current laws. Con: don't be fooled. Proposition 36 will lead to more crime, not less. It reignites the failed war on drugs, makes simple drug possession a felony, and wastes billions on prisons while slashing crucial funding for victims, crime prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation. This puts prisons first and guts treatment. This initiative measure is submitted to the people in accordance with the provisions of Section 8 of Article 2 of the California Constitution. Proposed law, the Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Theft Reduction Act.
All right, well, those were all the propositions that we are going to be voting for. If you
Here in
happen-
California.
Yes. Thank you for completing that. I was going to continue that to say California. Yes, right here in California. So, um, you know, if you need to do further research, you can. I'm sure you received your ballot, but if you didn't happen to receive your ballot, we'll put the description and the link in the description of this video. You can go to the Secretary of State's website to check that out as well. And, go out and exercise your right to vote or not. It's your choice. But the general election is on November 5th, 2024. Early voting has started. October 7th was the early date. And for those that didn't register to vote, your last day to register was October the 21st. So hopefully everyone did register. But yeah.
Exercise your right to vote.
Exercise your right to vote. So, as always, family, please like, share, and subscribe. And as Kim said, definitely hit that bell for notifications just to keep up to date with what's going on, not only here in California but all across the nation, as we cover reparations and other news activity that's going on. So that's about it. We will see you next time. As always, peace and reparations.
Peace and reparations.